Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lizard Brains podcast. I'm your host, DJ Allison Drini. I'm joined by my co-host, Tom O'Gorman. Tom, how's it going?
Aloha. It's okay. It's been kind of gray and cold again this week, and windy and stormy, and you get that hit. We've already talked about it once this year, but you
Yep.
got that hit of the warmth and the sun and the everything. I even got a little sun on my face one
Yeah,
day
you do,
playing
yeah.
out with my niece, and then all of a sudden we're back to this.
Yeah,
That's about where I'm at.
I knew it was going to get cold again. That's why I'm going to Vegas in like 2 days. So
Yeah, smart.
actually tomorrow, I fly out
TFO.
tomorrow, which kind of makes me
When
panic a
that,
little bit. I haven't packed at all, but I'm
you'll be
sure it'll be fine.
Helmet and underwear. What do
That's
you
all I need. That's all I need. So now I have 2 helmets. One's good for autocross, but it's not good for racetracks. And then the other one's good for racetracks. I've been like halfway. It's too late now. But I was thinking, what if I like shipped it out so I don't have to deal with it? Like, UPS ground, whatever, call the hotel, be like, is it okay if a package sits there for like 2 days or whatever?
Yeah.
And then I get to Vegas and my helmet's just in a box like behind the hotel desk.
That sounds stressful. I think it's a little easier to navigate having it with you all the time than it is.
Yeah, but it would get there 2 days
hope
early.
it shows up on the other end.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
I don't know about that one.
It would get there 2 days early, and if it looks like the tracking number is not doing what it should, then I just bring like the helmet that I would bring anyways.
And then you have 2 helmets. I don't know. I see the problem. This is a good problem solving session, but I just don't know if that's the solution.
I got to figure it out. Because
I've only shipped my race gear once. I had to ship my race gear down from whenever I think it was a year and a half ago now that we went to Aruba as a family.
Yeah.
And I was flying straight to Coda for a race, and I shipped my gear to the Hollises. But that was at least like tons of lead time and going to a place that I knew.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Not just some hotel.
Well, maybe I could have shipped it to some other autocrosser in like Las Vegas or something, but
that could work.
Yeah, it's too late now, but I was just thinking because I have 2 really nice helmets, and one just by the rules that exist in the world is no longer eligible for like most of the stuff I do other than autocross. So if I'm traveling for an autocross event, maybe I could figure out a way to not travel with a helmet.
Yeah. Well, let me know how that goes.
Or I could steal a helmet from like the rental cart place nearby.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think that's actually the best plan so far. You go to the local K1.
Yep.
And then you see if you can wear the helmet out before anyone notices.
Or I just like be like, hey, can I rent this? And I like give you like a credit card to have behind the desk.
Here's what we'll do. I'm going to buy a race for right now, and then I'm going to buy a race for Sunday night at about 5:30 p.m. I'm going to take the helmet with me between those 2, but I promise I'll be back for my Sunday race.
I swear I'll be back. I'm definitely not stealing this helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this plane's falling apart too. There's a way. There's a way.
The way.
Yeah, I haven't figured it out.
Wear the helmet
yet,
on the plane.
I mean, I could do that, but I'm also just bringing the helmet on the plane, but it limits like my carry-on capacity. We have to check a bag, and I don't know if you've been following like the news at all, but apparently airports are like super backed up with like TSA, and that like TSA pre-check's not even gonna work or whatever. So we're gonna have to show up like 4 hours early, and I'm gonna have to check in a bag. And I'd rather not check in a bag. I'd rather just carry everything, but I'm going to have to check a bag. So that's the annoyance.
Can I tell an embarrassing story of flying with racing related things? Luckily,
absolutely.
It was after the event, and luckily it was only a trophy.
Oh?
But the trophy only fit. I was carrying it, so then I looked like an idiot walking around with a giant trophy. And then, which isn't the first time I've had to do that either.
How big is the trophy? This is such a Tom O'Gorman problem, by the way.
It was the Grid Life trophy from the pit race.
Oh, that's not
end
that
of last
big.
year event. It wasn't. What was it?
Who
cares? Whatever.
I feel like
it was big. It was
suitcase.
like the size of these behind me.
Okay, that's
like
a little
foot tall or more.
Yeah, that's a little. So the trophy's right behind Tom. I'm guessing those are a little too big for like a carry-on suitcase.
Yeah. Whatever happened, I put it in the overhead bid, and I wrapped something around it, something I could not worried about, because then I forgot it. Got back off the plane, got all the way home. And then some overhead compartment in some Southwest Airlines plane has a a third place trophy in it.
From
Well,
what,
had from 6 months ago.
is it like SRO or like WRL or what was it?
I think it was the Grid Life trophy because I got 3rd at the pit race weekend last year.
Okay, okay.
Baton won, Eric got 2nd, I think I got 3rd.
Yeah, gotcha. I didn't realize you
I
flew to
don't
that.
know why I
Why
flew
would you
there, so
fly
I must
to
have been
Pittsburgh? It's only like 3 hours away
I don't
from
know.
you.
Details don't
This
matter.
story's not
Someone
making
got a cool
sense.
trophy.
Yep. So, A Anne from Southwest is just it's on her trophy rack, along with all
Yeah,
her other forgotten trophies and
right.
yes.
With along with the iPad that they have and all that, yeah. Um, we had a fun weekend with our race, and then I gotta hear your story about VIR too, but we hosted a sim race this weekend, 2-hour race, pulled off another one.
Yep.
I had so much fun. First of all, it was clean and it seemed like everyone had a good time. A couple little incidents here and there, but nothing iRacing level.
I think it was very tricky
Nothing
what
typical.
I think it was very tricky race that we threw at our community, and I will say they handled it beautifully. I was really impressed how little boneheaded incidents there were. I think there was like maybe like 2 or 3 that was like, "Oh, come on, my guy," but like all
Yeah.
varying, all varying experience levels in on the sim rig and in racing in general. And I will say for the most part, it was like you guys crushed it. Like you guys killed it. Like it was so good.
Yep. I did see the thing that you are always worried about happened, which is if there's 6 classes, you spread the skill out across across all the classes.
Yep.
And then, you don't end up with class battles like all the time. So there were little lulls here and there, but there was also lulls of I got like excited shakes and chills 3 times during the race. The first one, did you catch the music at the beginning?
With like the rock music coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what that's
Okay.
from?
No.
Ah, Speed
Sorry.
Channel. I'm in the phase of the
Oh,
winter where I
dude,
keep getting a ton of old recommended races
it
like Speed
sounded
Channel
familiar.
World Challenge and all this. And I've been clicking on them and everyone starts with that. I'm like, we should use that for our race. So I convinced Kyle to do that. So we started and I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Cause I was like, that was like racing to me when I was growing up. Like that meant that racing was coming on TV.
Yeah. It sounded
And
familiar,
then
Tom. It was like hitting some like long forgotten pathways in my brain. I was
yeah,
like, oh, this. I kind of liked it when it was our podcast music, but this is kind of slapping too. Like this is pretty cool.
yep. He did perfect balancing both. And then there was a race maybe 45, 55, somewhere in the halfway point. There was a battle with like 3 different class battles that had all overlapped and everyone handled it really well, and I got excited about that.
Hmm.
And then there was one other one, but it was one of the more fun broadcasts, I
I
would
think
say, from our end.
some of your nerd chills came from when three different classes all had different lines coming out of the bowl, and they all were side by side leaving it.
Yeah, maybe that
And
was
then
it.
Kyle absolutely crushed it with like the perfect chopper cam and
Yep.
like captured it beautiful. Dude, Kyle is like, it's it's unfortunate that that skill only really lives in iRacing to like have like the perfect. I guess it could exist in real life too, uh, but yeah, it's just the basically what I'm trying to say. Sorry, I'm like jumping all over the place. Uh, what I'm
Swell
trying
toast.
to say is like you won't have that many options of cameras in real life where they're all like perfectly aimed at the things all the time where you could have Kyle just like flip into them because like that just wouldn't work in real life. Because in real life you have like a producer warning the camera people what they want them to look at, and because
Yep.
Kyle does all that with like buttons and like interface. And in the real world, you don't have that. It's a bunch of people operating the cameras, and you need somebody like directing them.
Yeah. I gotta say, I picked up 2 sim race broadcasts a week. One's on Tuesday and one's on Wednesday. And one of them I get to lead, and the other one I'm the color, so I get to practice both. And
Yeah.
then we just finished up the Liberty Bell League, which I was leading on the broadcast, and you were color. So in I've been like actively trying to practice that skill of like finding my voice with it and not being too cheesy and cliche with how a lead broadcaster talks and blah blah blah. But in doing more of that recently and then jumping into it with Kyle and knowing on the other end, like I've seen him do it so much, but it still blows me away that he's managing what we're seeing, who we're watching, knowing the battles going on. He's managing the music mixing, he's managing the sound mixing for us and the broadcast like images. Then
Yep.
he's managing the like the ticker for the race because that's active all the time and the graphics that can pop up, and he's following the battles to talk about them all the time.
Yeah. It's it's
Which I feel like I
actually
just had my first broadcast last night where I kind of like fluidly brought the race all through, and it was only one 20-minute race. It was just a quick like, but I told the whole story without having ever getting lost or like, and I'm like, damn, he's doing that for hours at a time
yeah.
and everything else. It's so impressive.
But it's a good example of how the reps, because he's done it so much, the reps turn
Yeah,
into this. Because to Kyle, it's not draining. It's not like this huge mental tax to operate all those things. He's doing a lot of that stuff subconsciously because he has so many reps behind it.
right.
And that's like what we're trying to turn into, like with our driving, is to have it as subconscious as possible, because then it doesn't take as much energy. You're able to focus on more things. Uh, Kyle is basically like a drummer, and you learn to play the drums one drum at a time, and then they all can start mixing in together like slowly over time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm the drummer that gets on the kit, and as soon as I introduce my feet, it's just dunk, 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 all at the same time. I can't hit anything, anything other than quarter notes
At
with all four
nationals,
limbs.
this last year, they gave people like drumsticks, and if you won nationals, you got to do like a drum solo, and I put like air quotes up. And
Oh, it was my solo nationals trophy.
oh, okay, yeah,
That's what it was from.
that's a
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
yes, okay, that makes more sense than pit race, which you would just drive to. So wait, so you left your was it this year's solo nationals trophy? You left it in the overhead bin somewhere?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Can you all right, if that was hold on, a short detour. If that was your first solo nationals trophy, you would have burned down the world to try to get that thing.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Probably.
Absolutely. You're lucky that's like your ninth or whatever solo national championship.
I gotta say I didn't notice that I forgot it because I didn't go there with it. Right? You're in the airport for like a very short little window, and then I dropped it in the overhead bin. That I know it sounds like it doesn't that I don't care about it, but it took me a long time to remember that I didn't have it, and then as soon as I realized I don't have it, I got really sad, and I haven't gotten, like, the gall to, like, call for a new one yet.
Oh, that's
Because I
right.
do really, really want a new one,
You could
but
call
I know
for a
that's
new
gonna be
one.
complicated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I bet. Hmm. I wonder how that works. Is there just a bunch of trophies that look exactly like that, just like in a display
Oh, yeah.
somewhere?
Yeah, yeah, you just commission whatever. I mean, the only bespoke ones that I know of anywhere in racing are the Champ Car ones that are, like, the
Oh.
custom
Oh, where they like
car
weld it
part made, like,
together.
models, which are so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was talking about something and now I don't remember what it was.
You were talking about the solo nationals, and then
Oh,
the
drum solo.
trophy and
Yeah, the drum solo.
go ahead. Drum solo, yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
so I don't play the drums at all. Maybe some Rock Band, the video game, a couple times, and that's when I learned that drumming is way harder than you actually think it is. Uh, and so I had a drum solo, and I was more nervous for the drum solo than my runs. 'Cause I just wanted to do a well executed badumts, and that so like but like you have to do hands and feet and then hit the thing at the right time, and like end at the like the right interval. And so I was playing this over, they're like doing the whole ceremony, Tom, and I'm in my head just like badoomch, 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 like with my hands, like trying to get the muscle memory down before I went up there, and I crushed it. I crushed it, Tom. Here we come.
Wow, you
I'm the
visualized it and then you manifested.
I killed it. But to all the rest of the audience, going back to the iceberg, I just did a badoomch and just walked off stage. They didn't know the amount of preparation necessary
Yeah.
to nail it.
Love it.
Yep. All right.
What okay, so the race this weekend, that was really fun. Thanks to everyone who did that. And then you were coaching VIR, but it cut a little short.
It
You have anything from the weekend before we get into
yeah.
our topic, which we actually have this week?
Yes. Yeah, so I was in an interesting scenario where got the VIR, met a new client of mine, got the data and the stuff all set up in the car, And the first session, first off, I don't think coaching at a NASA weekend is like a good move. All the sessions were way too busy. And me and that client came to that same conclusion. It's like maybe we should just do like a track day or some testing or something like a testing day or something. Uh, and
Was he in competition or was he in HPDE?
he was in HPD.
Okay.
So unfortunately, uh, so I set up all the data, everything, uh, video, all that stuff, and I just sent them out in the first session as just a little shakedown. Like you don't need like don't you don't need. We're not even chasing fruit yet. It's just like just go do laps, have some fun, like shake the car down. And at some point during his first session, one of the rear caliper bolts fell out or came loose or something, and he went down the back straight at VAR and hit the brakes, and it didn't do it quite exactly what he expected. And you're going like 140, 150 or whatever down the back straight. You have 25% less braking than normal. You just go off the track, and that's what happened. And he hit a wall.
Ugh,
So we didn't even
bummer.
get to coaching yet, and the car was just like wrecked, which is just super unfortunate that he has a wrecked car, and then I made the trip out there to do the coaching, and I will say this guy was a saint because I was like, "How about you just cover my travel and we just book again some point in the future, and like we'll call that even because like the guy just wrecked his car, right? It's like he already has an expensive weekend, and he's like, "Nah, you came out here to coach," so he paid me my full day rate, and I was done at like 9 a.m. or whatever, um,
Yeah.
which was super unfortunate. And I really appreciate the full day rate because I did intend to make that money when I went there. Um, but yeah, I've never been in that situation before where you were there to help and either the car breaks or it gets crashed or whatever, like right off the rip to the point where like there's not even really anything to talk about. Now, I will say I helped troubleshoot why the crash happened because um the client was originally thinking like, "Oh, I got like ice mode." And then I couldn't slow the car down. And I watched the video and I was like, the way you got into the brakes, like, because the car was like completely flat, straight line. He didn't the foot speed from the gas to the brake wasn't like it didn't look like he like jammed it to like really unsettle the car. Like it looked completely fine. There was nothing to coach in there. I was like, I think something on the car broke. So I started looking around the car and that's when I found the caliper bolt. And I was like, well, the good news is you didn't crash the car with your driving. Um, Either a caliper bolt failed or you crashed the car with your wrenching. So like it's one of them. So
Damn, I wouldn't have even thought of the second part. Yeah, he
yeah.
might have done that, huh?
Well, he said that he's really diligent about that. So he thinks that something failed. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just I've never been in that situation where it's like you're there to do something and then it just ends before like it even starts, and it's just kind of like, oh crap, like what the hell do we do now? And
Yeah.
obviously he was really bummed and like embarrassed. But I hope he felt better after we figured out that it was a car failure and not a driver failure, which I know as a driver that would make me feel better if I went out and bin the car. Uh, but this I almost didn't do my rule because he had a test day the whole day before. And I thought the car's probably fine, right? So I almost drove first. I was almost out in that car, Tom, and I would have just like not had brakes at some point, somewhere on the track, maybe the same spot. And I would have been in the car that crashed. And that's never a good look if you're the coach and you go and crash the car, whether it has a mechanical or not. Not everyone's going to know the full story, right? Like you're just in the car and it crashed.
Yeah.
So normally I always have the owner drive the car first as like a shakedown, and then I'll drive the car next. Just in case the car's doing anything weird. You have that conversation before. You're like, any weird noises, any clunks, any this. Like, okay, cool. I understand what to expect. Uh, but yeah, I almost went out in that car. Um, and the car isn't totaled. It's probably like I don't know, like $5,000 to $8,000 worth of damage. It's a Corvette, so everything's fiberglass. So all those panels are expensive. Uh, but yeah, it's just a interesting weekend. And then I went to go set a lap in Ryan's car. Spicy Cat Racing is sponsor of the podcast. And then he stole the key and he wasn't around. And so I'm in the car with all the driver gear, ready to go take it for some laps, and I can't start the car. So then I just took off my gear and got in my car and started driving home. So it was a little bit of a bust, Tom.
Yep,
Yeah.
bummer.
Yeah. It's
Um,
it's okay. I
yeah,
did
I've
get
been
to see
in
everyone, which was nice.
sure, yeah, that is cool. It's kind of a cool and also unfortunate thing that we're developing such a good community in the Southeast, 7
Yes.
to 8 to 9 hours away. Not ideal, but they get better seasons than we do, so I think they're already in the swing of things, and ours hasn't started. I was gonna say I've been in all of those situations probably with the, like, what do you do as the coach in the car broke? You crashed the car, the driver crashed the car maybe broke because the driver, like, all of that stuff I can think of, but it's always awkward. It's gotten more awkward the more business oriented you have to be,
Yeah.
which maybe there's a difference between being at the track with a couple friends and they offer you to let you drive the car and then X Y Z can happen. But then when it's like I make my living doing this, or I'm putting a lot of effort into my side business doing this because I want to do more, like you are,
Yep.
you're like, well, that's kind of the first thing you think of, other than as long as they're okay, right? And you're
Yeah, and
thinking of other things, but it's
he
like,
was obviously okay. He like
yeah,
yeah. He found the softest honestly, the crash was quite amazing, Tom. Like the level of bandwidth of the driver, because we watched it. And I didn't want to watch it without him because he had to like run off and like because he was an instructor. He had to run off to
oh,
his student. And I have the GoPro and I'm like, I'm not gonna watch this without him because like sometimes when people have crashes, it's like a very intimate moment for them. So and I don't want to see it if they don't want me to see it, right? So
right,
so I waited till he came back and then was like, "Hey, you good?" Like we talked about it a little bit. And I was like, "Do you want to try to figure out why it happened?" Because one of the main reasons he hired me to be there is part of our topic today, which is rational fear versus irrational fear. And he wanted to understand like what was rational and what was irrational, basically. That not his words, but that's basically what he wanted to happen was like he feels like something bad is going to happen every single time he's out on track and he wants to understand why. Why does he feel like that? Is there a way to work past it? So it's really unfortunate that something bad happened when he went out on track, right? So I was
yeah,
like part of this conversation that we're having after he got back from instructing a student was, well, do you want to figure out what happened so you have control over it? Because if just if if the thought is, well, sometimes you just crash, then that does sound like you might just be a little bit kind of terrified all the time. If it's just like a sometimes you just crash and there's no control over it and there's nothing to learn or
right,
there's no takeaways or anything, right? Like that would be terrifying. This sport would suck if sometimes you just crash.
yeah,
Most of the time, I would say 99.99999% of the time, it, there was a mistake. Whether and maybe it wasn't even your mistake. Maybe it was a mistake by somebody else, and or it's like the car got too hot and they thought, oh, I'm going to keep running it, and they blew their engine and dumped a bunch of oil, and you got in the oil and you crashed. Right? That's something that caused it. Right? And maybe there was something
right,
in your control where you're like, okay, yeah, I saw the smoke down the road, and I maybe should have put two and two together and thought there might be oil in different places or whatever. There's always a takeaway. You have all the control of what happens when you're on the racetrack. So part of what I wanted from this like footage that we haven't looked at yet was trying to understand why it happened. And so that's why we looked at it. And I was like, well, I don't think your driving caused this. Like, I don't understand. Like, we looked at the previous laps and I'm like, you're braking at the same spot. It's not like you missed a brake marker. Looked at the data and it was like, the car was just slowing down less than the other laps. So yeah, so we figured out what it was. It was that caliper bolt, but like the part of it was we needed to figure out the why. Like why did this
yeah,
happen, right?
yep,
Uh so he brought me out there to try to figure out the whys of his other fears. And we didn't really get to work on that stuff and that's what kind of sucks.
yeah. Before we go further into that fear idea, um, I want to give you a scenario that I did, and I want you to tell me if you think I did the right thing
Okay, let's
or
hear
if
it.
I shouldn't have done this. So I was coaching somebody, and their engine expired while they were on track. and they came back on a tow hook or whatever, and the engine was blown. And it was a known the car of it was an FRS, so they are known to like the engines blow up on track sometimes. And I still grabbed the video right away, and the driver was socializing and kind of like looking at the car with the team and all this. And I watched the driver money shift it
Oh,
like a lap prior, and then a couple symptoms of money shifted popped up over the lap, and then the engine let go.
yeah.
And because the driver had had a really good gains weekend and had been running really strong and didn't see the video, but knew that the car could just blow up sometimes because of whatever, I decided to not tell them or show them the money shift or be like, hey, hey, come look at this. See, this is why it happened. To save face for that driver to not start to think about shifting as like a, oh my God, I've money shifted
Oh,
an engine
yeah.
once and I don't even want to do like I don't want to be nervous about it now because they'd never money shifted before. And it was I still grapple to this day. Did I
Do
do
you
the right thing
do
by
you think
not huh?
do you think they didn't know? They had to
They
have
might have known.
remembered.
They might have known. And if they knew in the back of the head back of their head that it had happened or something else and it wasn't regardless of like I just kind of like zoomed out of the moment and it felt like ultimately the car broke while having a really positive learning experience over the whole weekend and like they had been getting a lot better and all this.
Yeah.
Did I do the right thing by not pointing out their root? They were the root cause of this mechanical failure. Money should yeah. 4-3 instead of 4-5. um but caught it quick. But either way, did I do the right thing?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't
Not
know.
sure either.
Yeah, I'm like I would like to think that they know that they money shifted and that's why the engine blew up. Cuz I feel like anytime I've money shifted a car, you're like, "Oh, crap." And then you're like looking at all the gauges, you're like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?"
Right.
And you're
Yep,
like,
yep.
"Okay, I think I got away with that one." And then like, the one time I didn't, which was Mitch's K-swapped Miata, uh I like went through the whole session. I was like, "Oh, cool. I think I got away with it." And then the next session it blew up and was like, "Oh crap, I didn't get away with it." Like
Yeah.
obviously I had something to do with that. Like it doesn't just blow up the next session for like no reason.
Right.
Um like I remember one time I money shifted Zach Lavoie's car and I like texted him because he wasn't there. That's why I got to drive his car. I texted him and was like, "Hey, uh, if for some reason you lose an engine in the next couple races, I might owe you one because I money shifted your car during the race." And then sends me a text back. He goes, "Oh, I money shift that thing all the time." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
He was like famously the most bulletproof S2000 driveline of all time in the
Yeah.
ASM shed because or garage, whatever. He would, I mean, dozens of them, lots of them.
Yeah, I felt bad.
Okay, so I just thought that was a cool, interesting anecdote because I didn't know what to do. So then I also asked one of the team guys that was he was kind of over my shoulder, and I was like, they money shifted right before, like the lap before. Should I tell them? And they were like, no, no, like
Okay. If you
what's
got
done is done.
Yeah.
Like they're feeling so confident after not feeling that confident. They had a great weekend. And
Yep.
I'm like,
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
okay, okay. But
Yeah.
now I still think back. I'm like,
Yeah, but what if it
I
actually helped them? So like that's I think where
yeah,
you're kind of like big brain in it is you're like, does because if any part of knowing about that mistake would help them become a better driver in the future, then you tell them.
right.
But if it will actually make them worse, then what's the point in telling them? Because your goal as the coach is just to have them be the best driver that they can be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
And
actually
if it had been like a you're like 30 prone misshifts a weekend and then you finally do it and the engine blows, like we're having the conversation. But it felt
yes.
like just such an isolated little thing. And I still that you're talking to the driver about it made me think of that scenario too.
Yeah.
Um, but okay, fear, rational and irrational fear. I think
Okay,
it's a
so
really interesting topic.
yeah, so that's a topic, and I run across this never in the sim, obviously, but I run across it in conversations with people about their driving in the real world at the track. And the fear thing is it's a factor for every single person, no matter how freaking amazing you are behind the wheel. My first session out in that VIR, it, at VIR in the ZR1, uh, I did like a partial lift through the front straight, even though I knew you could just drive through that flat. But I'm going 70 miles an hour through a bend where I need to use all the racetrack. Like there's some fear that exists in there, but I knew that it could make it, especially after the first time. And I like lifted a little bit and was like, okay, I can make it. So then, like part of the topic here is irrational, which is fear that exists even though you know it shouldn't exist, versus rational fear, which is fear that probably should exist for a reason, right?
Right.
So if I lifted and then made it through
Thanks,
that
Darwin.
corner easily, and then I kept lifting, even though I knew there was more in the car, or maybe like, and I could even take like baby steps out and like, okay, I'm just going to do a smaller lift. I'm going to do a less percentage lift. I'm going to do a shorter duration lift. And at some point, it should just be flat, right? If I know it's flat and I don't go flat and I'm hitting my marks like I should be, then, and I still lift, then the irrational fear is getting the better of me. But the driver I was working with was apexing too early. So they kept lifting because they were scared. If they pushed past that rational fear, then they would have had a different angle into the corner and they would have went off track. Right?
Yeah.
So how do you identify what is a rational fear and what is an irrational fear as the driver? Because it's always going to seem rational. Like, not everyone has the benefit of, well, so and so did it, and this is where their turning point was, and this is where their apex was, and this is what their speed was. And at some point, it's just like a physics problem to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So, where, like, how would we figure that out on our own? And I honestly don't know the answer to this. I was hoping that maybe we could game it out a little bit.
Yeah. So my first thought is that there are two types of like fear that you can't conquer, kind of, for this specific driving, right? You either know it can be done. For example, if you're driving flat out through a corner and someone else is not, and you can tell them and show them on data and on the camera and through conversation, it can be done. And the
Yes.
driver is afraid of what might happen and they can't push through that. That's a different type of fear than what you or I would feel in a no reference point. No one else has done it. No one else is like you don't have somebody next to you at the track telling you the ZR1 can go flat out down that front straight. You're on your own to figure that out.
Yep.
Or weather condition, whatever, like we'll talk about that. But you don't have that like someone else told you it can be done. So there's like the pressure on the outside or the information coming from the outside that it can be done. You have to push through it, or there's the like you just don't know. And I think it's totally it's
Hold on.
different in conversation. What? Go ahead.
Can I stop you? So,
Yeah.
even if a corner can be done flat, maybe you don't have the understanding enough to do it flat. Maybe you're apexing in a different spot. Maybe your turn in is a little too lazy, so you're not at the limit until you get to the very inside of the racetrack. So then you're going to run out of racetrack.
Yep.
The lack of understanding to me is rational fear. It's when you understand all the moving pieces and how to put it together is where it becomes irrational.
Yeah. So my anecdote is always when I bought my first race car, I had a previous owner from that track tell me turn one was flat. My ITC car at Mid Ohio turn one was flat at like 89 miles an hour, maybe
Yes.
88. I don't know. No, that's high. No, like 82 miles an hour. Just flat out turn in, whatever.
Mid Ohio, right?
And yeah, the previous
Yep.
owner told me flat out through turn one. Previous owners of other cars like identical to mine told me flat out in turn one. And other people in my class with other cars from me also said, yeah, we were flat out in turn one. But it was my first time to that track in that corner, and I did the whole first practice session lifting and probably started with braking and then lifting. And I was deep into the qualifying session and I had not done it flat yet. And I had all of this data telling me that I could do it flat. And I remember like deciding I'm going to do it flat this next lap and coming out of the carousel with a pit in my stomach. And I didn't really like analyze what would happen. I just said like I'm going to do it flat. And the first time it was like basically fine. Maybe they got a little slide through the apex or something. And then every single time out beyond that, like mindlessly, not even thinking about it.
Yeah. Dude, I remember,
So,
hold on, the first time I had my Honda Fit out on at Mid Ohio turn one, I
uh-huh.
lifted, right? First couple laps I lift. And then the first time I do it flat, I went, why did that take me a couple laps to do that?
Yeah,
because it was
right.
so. But like the whole lead up to it, you're like, I don't know, I don't know, because the mere lift made it more unstable than just like keeping the power down. That's like the tricky part of that.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah,
So I use
continue.
that anecdote all the time with coaching if somebody needs to do basically that. Like, we just haven't done, you know that it can be done and you haven't done it yet. Here's my story about that. Here's how I felt when it happened and it worked out okay. And but then I also tried to do the analysis that I hadn't done when I was 22, 3, whatever, that if I turn in too early, this is what might happen. If I get loose at the apex, this is where I need to know that I have to bail. Like, there's like a couple options that you
Yeah.
can start to set somebody up for expectation wise. And I try to give them those thoughts. Like if it's a go flat through the corner type thing, I try to tell them, if you feel uncomfortable at this point in the track, consider bailing and then think about why you needed to bail.
Yeah.
Just giving them a little bit of information to think about so that they don't just go do it blindly and then end
Yes.
up with a accident or something. When I'm doing it for myself, now I think I do that situational analysis more in real time. Like if I'm going to take a risk and I don't know what's going to happen, then I try to think through, if this happens, if the car understeers, this is where I go. If I oversteer, this is where the, and I don't literally
Okay.
think
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
words, but I do think I'm doing that analysis when I'm starting to take bigger risks,
You're
um,
preemptively thinking about
in the unknown.
what the bail would look like. Where would you
What's the out?
yeah, where's the
Yes.
out? So it's not like you try to do the thing, like you're asking the question, can you do this thing? And then the answer is not the answer you were expecting. You have
Yeah.
already figured out what your outs are. Like there's runoff over here, or the grass here is an option. Like you've already figured out like where you're gonna go.
Right. Because you can take risks if you plan your out
Yeah.
way more than if you don't. If you've never thought about it, that's where people get in over their heads.
Yeah.
I also advise drivers, is a little on the same topic, but especially at drivers meetings for like track night and stuff. Um, I always point out the like erring on the side of caution with signals from your car. That's one thought, but then the more important thought to them is always work from underneath up to the limit. So if you know that you can brake at the start finish line because the corner is literally on the other side of the race, if you're at,
Yeah.
if even if you're at Road America and you know you can brake at the start finish line to make yourself comfortable for turn 1, start there and know that's where you started. And then push it into a new reference point, push it into a new reference point, push it into a new reference point, and chip away at that as fast as you're comfortable rather than guessing and then trying to figure out where you guessed.
Yeah.
I would always say that in novice meetings, and I think that was helpful for them. But I'm trying to think, do you have any specific ideas off of those, like
Well, so some of the stuff,
all of that I just said?
yeah, some of the comments in the chat. Um, so Devin from Hooked on Driving, he says, "How do you walk up to that fear? I'm thinking you need consistency prior to conquering that fear, so you can increase uh, the percentage of pucker within controlled constraints." And I do think that the consistency does help. But how are you supposed to judge how consistent you are as a driver to know what small changes you should make that will turn into a different result? Whether the small change is braking a little bit later, or turning in a little bit earlier, or later, or whatever. These small changes that will affect the output of where the car ends up on exit. Uh, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of tricky. Like, how would you gauge? I think I think like the more in tune with what your current skill level is. I see it go both ways. Some drivers think they're way better than they are, but I would say the vast majority of drivers aren't as they're better than they think they are. And so a lot of times, like when I'm coaching somebody, I'll see them consistently, like down to like a couple inches. They're half a car width from the edge of the racetrack on exit, and the car's like right up to the limit, right up to that point, and they have that buffer. And I bet at one point in their driving, that half a car length was super important because they could be off by that half a car length, or a whole car length, or whatever. And we should have that margin baked in to whatever our accuracy and consistency is, right? At some point, you have to realize I'm putting the car in the same foot, the same inch, the same whatever consistently so I can adjust what my margin is. And I think that's in like the same realm of whatever your like resolution is for the changes on the input to affect where the car ends up on corner exit. So you kind of have to judge it based on like your perceived accuracy in the car. And some days you'll be better than others, and you have to adjust that margin accordingly.
Yeah. I think I followed most of what you said, but I want to add more words to the top of that. You said most drivers are better than they think they are. I think it's that most people's instincts
No,
kick in more
yes,
than they think than they than they do. So some people are worse drivers than they think they are, and most people are better drivers than they think they are, is what you said. And
yes.
I tend to agree with that. But I think it's because people's instincts kick in more than they realize for the most part. Whether it's
Why do you think that
an
happens?
instinct to I don't know. I just think people are they're uncomfortable with putting themselves in that position on purpose. But if the car slides and you catch it, you don't even think about it almost. Like
Yeah.
people that kind of instinct kicks in more than you realize. So the more you dip your toes into into those uncomfortable moments, and the more you win at that, like the more comfortable you become, more confident you become.
Yeah, I think
But I don't think it's fair. I don't know. I'm just stuck on. I don't think it's fair to say most people are better drivers than they think. I just think more people can rely on their instincts if they just think of instead of thinking about. Maybe I'm getting too in the weeds here, but I'm worried about braking a little bit later because I'm worried it'll spin through the apex. Like if you just brake a little bit later, and then maybe also have my advice of like if you get to the
heaven out.
apex and you need to bail, but just put yourself in the position and see if your instincts kick in almost.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna say is if you aren't pushing these things at least a little bit within your own comfort level and having a plan to bail, then you're not putting yourself in positions where you learn what that is like. And so
Right.
like so the more you live in the space of this is the limit of the car, this is what it can do, this is how I can manipulate the corner shape, like entry, exit, all this stuff. Like these are all the tools that I can use and I'm using them actively. The more you're actively using all of those tools and the more the car, the more often the car is at the limit, the more you're learning about the behavior of the car, yourself, everything. But you have to you have to be pushing yourself the correct amount. Like obviously we all know people that push themselves too much and then they're just kind of like writing off cars. You have to like find the balance
Name
of
them. No, I'm kidding.
blast them. Um you you have to find the balance of I am pushing my own understanding of this uh to the point where I'm learning and actively getting better to uh I bit off too much and maybe I should just like call it a session and like come in while the car's still shiny.
Sure. Okay, let me give you some scenarios. So let me give you some scenarios, and then we'll play out like what we do with it.
Yeah.
If you're in the position, not that everyone in your data and your video and your coach all say you can do that thing, but in the scenario like it's X and I don't know what to expect and I'm a little afraid. Here's what we'll do. Okay, so the first one, like speed related fear. Either I don't know if I can go faster, I don't know if I can go through there flat. I'm afraid because I'm doing 170 miles an hour. Like speed related fear. How do you
Okay.
tackle that?
Are we talking about a braking or a corner? Because I feel like it's two different
Okay, so
things.
my different ideas were there's like the speed slash like high speed braking fear that all of us will face.
Yep.
There's like sightline related fear. You can't see where you're going. So I'm afraid I don't know what's going to happen.
Yep.
Condition related fear. It's
Okay.
pouring rain, it's cold, the tire, whatever.
Yep.
Those are the first three I thought of. And I thought we could go through like what would we do if we were
Yeah. No, I
afraid
like
of
that.
those things, but now we know what we know.
Okay. Well, I think to like kind of make it, and then we can dive in deeper. But I think the thing that like will make it maybe a little too simplified is we have to open up the input windows at high speeds. So what I mean by that is if it's let's say we're coming into a really fast braking zone, we have a little bit of a lift and maybe a little bit of a soft initial press into the brake uh, earlier. So we open up that input window of like exactly what when like how we're getting in the brakes, when we're getting the brakes, and then we can like shrink down that input window as we get more comfortable. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. And then it would be the same thing for a corner.
And well,
You
and
can start with a
let me add
lift.
to that.
Go ahead.
The only part of that that I think of is important to understand is you're slowing the weight transfer down longitudinally. So the car will do things way more slowly, and it's not you're not going to have anything like crazy high speed happen.
Yes.
So by softening up that input you're talking about, giving yourself a bigger window, you're slowing the weight down, which makes everything better at high speed.
Correct. Yeah. And we we run the risk of braking too early, which like look, I know all of us have braked too early from here and there, and it really does happen to all of us. But that's way better than braking too late, right? So when we're like, for example, at VR, when we're going 188 miles an hour in the ZR1, the input window is very small to like actually hit the brakes at the right spot where we have the appropriate amount of momentum by the time we get to the corner, right? Because you're going you're going so fast that the time in between each brake marker is very small. It's a very small amount of time. So you open up the input window by maybe getting into the brakes a little bit softer. If you know that you can absolutely just be like bam into the brakes at the 3.5, maybe you get softly into the brakes at the 4.5, and then you're fully in the brakes by like the 3, right? Because that
Yep.
opens up the input window of like what happened. And then if you get to the corner and you don't have the appropriate amount of momentum, then we can like move it up a little bit. We can shrink down when we start getting into the brakes, when we expect the car to be fully loaded, stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah, I think the opening up the input window is the perfect way to put that. For the most part, anything. If you whether there's braking or not, whether there's if it's high speed related fear. Another one that comes to mind recently for me was when we went to Hedge Hollow. There's that back straightaway, and in Salil's Porsche, we were doing like almost 160, I think, or even maybe 150. But it's like this blind
Yeah.
over brow into braking zone into decreasing radius second gear hairpin sequence. That was like, holy shit, this is going to feel scary. And the first time it was, but you're right. I just kind of softly rolled out of the throttle when I started to feel uncomfortable, but I didn't lift or brake, right? You can't give away your opportunity to learn what happens at whatever speed you're already at.
And there's
So you
plenty of
just kind of
runoff.
back it down to like a neutral throttle when I started to feel the fear. And then I actually think I got to like feed the throttle back in a little when I could see where I was going because there's blind. We'll talk about that too. And then the next lap, it was like, okay, everything was fine when I got to where I could see. So I'm only gonna lift the same amount of like soft pedaling when I get to where I can see. And then I pushed it beyond that, like, okay, now I didn't actually have to brake until that point after I could see. So I'm gonna
So
go flat out. And then when I get to that point, I'm gonna see that point, and that's where I kind of could do that checkbox assessment that
yes.
helps you get more comfortable at higher speeds.
So the fear at first was rational because you don't know what to
Yep.
expect. But what you're doing, and this is what everyone can take away. What Tom's doing there is he is asking a question and then getting an answer, and he's using the answer for the next time he sees the element. And so he adjusts it again with the known answer that he had, which was like the first time he came through, you're like, okay, too slow. I can, like that input window was huge. I can shrink up the input window. Like I can move everything closer to the corner because I still
Yep.
had plenty of ability to not like go flying off the racetrack. Right. So Tom's asking a question. He's getting the answer. He's applying that to his next lap. That is how we have the baby steps, or maybe sometimes when you're way off, you're like, okay, this is more than baby step. Maybe this is a teenager step, and we're gonna like move a little bit
Yeah.
closer, right? So, yeah, so that's what. So Tom just perfectly, uh, like put into words like his process of like working up to like this blind, really fast, uh, crest where you don't know where you're going, and especially with Hedge Hollow since it was a one lap track. Oh, you went and did an HPDE there, so like you had a little some reps on it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
But yeah, that's part of the process. Ask the question, get the answer, apply the answer for the next lap.
Yep. Okay, so sightline related. You don't know where you're gonna end up. You can't see where you're gonna end up. Is it any different? think it's a little different.
It's a little different because a lot of times you can see where you're gonna be on exit, like, as you're turning into the corner, but if it's a blind corner like a Deception at NCM or a lot of the corners at Mid-Ohio or, there's think of your favorite blind corner, and then this is the one we're talking about.
Yeah.
Uh, like, I understand the fear there. To me, I have to take special note of where I turn in and what my angle at apex is, and then where do I end up on the other side of this corner. And obviously, I'll start off with a later apex, right? Because then that gives me less chance of going off. And let's say I start off with a late apex where I'm like mid track and I'm like full throttle. I apex too late, right? So now I'm going to change the angle of the apex, which might change where I turn in. It might change where I hit the brakes before. It just kind of depends on what the shape of the corner is kind of basically calling for, right? And I don't know if we dive into that because I realize that it's not going to make 100% sense. Um, but to me, the angle at the apex is really important. If there are external things that we can look at, like for example, the right-hander turning into Thunder Valley at Mid Ohio, there's a gap in the trees that you can aim for, and if you're aimed at that by the time you get to the crest of the hill, so you can see it coming as you're like turning the car in, and you're like, there's the gap in the trees, and there's the crest of the hill, and if you're aimed at that by the time you get to the crest of the hill, you will have enough racetrack.
Yep.
Not every track has
Um,
like a nice convenient gap in the trees, but there's probably something.
right. Yeah, I'm not nearly as methodical as what you just described. I think one of my strengths is that I'm pretty good at like the mental image of a corner or a space. Um, that's always been super helpful in autocross, and it's always been a way that I've learned the tracks quickly. But that's just a natural. I think that's what someone would maybe call talent, right? Like I just have a strong mental image of the space,
Like good
but I
spatial
can't do
reasoning.
I can't do math at all, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like part of the thing. So I rely on I try to build muscle memory quickly, and I rely on my instincts with the mental image that I'm pretty good at picturing pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are actually pretty good at this thing. So like if you think you can picture the mental image of the corner and just kind of start to rep muscle memory, you're with me. Uh or I'm with you. Then if I start to develop a muscle memory that ends up with a negative, like more often than not, for example, I'm always a little bit too early on the apex. I'm always a little bit too wide at the whatever, insert
Yeah.
problem. Then I use whatever my muscle memory is to then tweak the one thing,
And
and then
you
that
how do you
becomes my
tweak
new
that?
routine.
What do you
It'll turn
adjust?
into something simple like I just need to turn in a little bit later, or I need to like once the muscle memory is down and the one problem has showed up, then I can diagnose that problem the way you diagnose anything. But for the sightline problem, I genuinely think just some reps is where I start. That's my
Now
whole point. Is I just start with a bunch of reps, as many as I get, and then I rely on my natural instincts while doing those reps to then if it highlights the problem that I need to fix, it will, but it just takes time.
now is
That's
it
that's my approach.
yeah, so let me ask you a question. Is it when you're making the adjustment to turn in a little bit later, is it where you normally turn in and you're just turning in
Yeah.
just past that, so now you have a new reference? Or because I find myself doing this sometimes, where I turn in a little bit later, I couldn't exactly tell you where I turn in, I just know it feels a little bit later. There's like a and one
Oh,
in
this
in
one.
my
Correct.
head, yeah. Where it's like normally I turn in too early on this corner, so I'm gonna turn in where it feels like I'm gonna turn in a little bit late. So it's like
Yep.
I realize to try to help somebody along the way, and you just say you just gotta it just has to feel like you're turning a little bit late. That is not helping anybody, right?
It can though. That's why I'm trying to be honest about like how do I deal with these types of things. And I'm picturing Mo Sport Turn 2, and I went there and learned it in my B spec car.
Yeah,
Once again, ironically, basically a flat out corner. So I'm coming in there at like 90 some miles an hour,
and it's
knowing
completely
that I have
blind.
to just basically just like partially lift to 50% throttle and then go right back to throttle. And I don't know I don't see anything. I literally don't think I developed much past the like, I'm going to start doing my little, bitch in my blood lifts at X point. And then I've gotten past the point where like I know how fast I can be going. I can't see where I'm going.
Yeah.
I just relied on muscle memory to build, or I relied on the instinct to build the muscle memory, and then I tweaked the muscle memory on that. What you're saying, just like I'm going to turn it a little later. There's not a reference point, and honestly, the reference points I come up with more often than not are in hindsight. I already know what I'm looking for, and I can maybe like, okay, this person's struggling with X spot. What am I thinking about there? Can I line it up for them? Maybe, but I don't honestly think everybody learns that
Well,
way.
so I think part of the reason why it feels like it's like instinct on your level, because I feel that too. But then I like try to dive in. I'm like, well, I know I'm looking at something. Like, what the hell am I looking at? And I think part of the reason
You don't
why
think it's possible that your mental image is your primary thing in your mind?
yeah, but like my mental image includes things that I'm like looking for or should be looking for or and let me explain.
Yeah,
Is
go for it.
I think the process of finding references and having the angle at the apex and visually or mentally seeing the exit of the corner, like as we're coming up to the corner, I think at some point all those things are so subconscious that you're picking up things and you're not even noticing that you're picking them up because your subconscious brain is just like this is the way I execute this corner because of the reps that you've gotten and because of your mental image of the corner. So then somebody asks you, "Hey, where are you braking there?" or what is your what are you looking for on turn in or this stuff. And we are looking at those things, but it might be happening so subconsciously that you're like, I know I'm looking at something, but I couldn't tell you what it is until you like go to the video and you're like, you have the bandwidth to like watch yourself do the thing and you're like, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm thinking about or looking at or whatever. But in the moment, it's it's not like in my head, I'm like, I'm I'm turning in where the grass starts to feed back in toward the edge of the pavement. It's just you're not thinking that. It's just something that you're doing because
Right.
on the subconscious level, your brain doesn't think in words or pictures or ideas or whatever. It just does the thing. That's part of being subconscious. It's like it doesn't even get to the frontal lobe to have any kind of, and maybe I'm sounding like a hippie right now, but like it doesn't get to the frontal lobe to turn into thoughts that we would recognize as human, right?
Namaste.
Okay.
I don't Yeah, no, you're making sense in what you're trying to describe, but I don't learn that way. So I want to be honest with like this is kind of how I approach. If there's a fear from I don't know where I'm going to end up because I can't see it, I think I rely pretty heavily on my mental image and then instincts and then that builds a muscle memory. And if someone else is needing something else, then I rely on my like, well, what would I be looking for, I guess, you know. I don't relate to the when you told me that gap in the trees thing at Mid Ohio, I was like, what? What
Oh,
is he
you don't
talking
know
about?
about
And
that?
then you were right. I'd been there for 10
Oh,
years,
okay,
never heard
okay.
about that or
Oh, yeah.
learned it or whatever. But now it's a thing in my tool belt. Yeah, I stole it from you. But that's one of those things like
I
I
don't think I
didn't
came up
think
with
about
that,
that
by the way.
ever.
I think
I
I
don't
heard
think you
that
did
from
either,
somebody
but you were the
else.
first person that said it to me.
Yeah. I
Um,
think I saw
I
that in
mean,
like
I
a
think Jackie's kind of right. She said DJ likes tangible references. Tom uses abstract references.
yeah. I
And
think
I'm sure we are on a
I
spectrum of both things
yes,
for
I was
sure.
gonna say I'm not 100% like there's nothing on the racetrack. I don't know where to go. Like or like
Yeah.
I think autocross is like a great example of this. You have like almost no references in autocross.
Yeah,
Maybe
but when the weight transfers around you is a reference, when you get on the brakes is a reference, that bump over there is a reference, that little
yeah, like
discolored
a
spot is a
little bit of a
reference. You
bump.
can be so creative all the way to the end of
Yeah,
like whatever you need to make it work.
exactly. Yeah, or like a cadence of a cadence of time in between two corners, and depending on where you end up, is it's gonna adjust like the rhythm in between two corners.
Yeah.
All these things can be
Okay.
references, right?
Yep. I don't know if that's a super helpful fear-based discussion, but either way, that's how we handle it. Okay, you have conditions-based fear. It's wet, new tires, it's cold,
Uh,
it's dark.
we'll just say a lot of unknowns, right? Like there's a lot of
Yep.
unknowns, right? So how do you how?
But you already have a
Okay,
lot of information. It's just different conditions now, and you're scared.
yes. Well, if it's wet,
Why are you scared?
the information because there's unknowns, right? I think an unknown
Yes.
is a rational fear. I think the unknowns are rational fears, but it's not like you've never driven a car before. It's also like you've never like you've driven down the road and it's wet. You know what I mean? Like it's not like you're completely without information. It's just now you have a little less knowns than you would otherwise if it was just dry, right? And
Yep.
especially if you don't have a lot of experience in the wet, because now you have even more unknowns. But to me, the thing that's going to solve that rational fear of just I don't know what will happen is you have to experiment around to figure out what can happen, what will happen, what because if you run the outside of the corner and you have plenty of grip, the next lap around, it's still going to be the same thing. Unless like the conditions have like wildly changed. But you'll notice that you'll have that information. If it's raining a little bit, now all of a sudden it's a torrential downpour. Well, now you got some unknowns again, right? Where's it
Sure.
puddling? We can see it. You can see the shininess of like the dry line. You do have information, and as you get more and more comfortable with the rain driving or just more experienced with it, you'll have less unknowns. And so in theory, we should have less rational fears. And because we have more of an understanding of what is happening, uh, we should just be more comfortable. Tom, I remember when I first started driving on the racetrack, I just like my coaching client this last weekend, I was just convinced something bad was going to happen at any moment. And as you get reps in, you start to realize nothing just randomly bad has happened. Like
Yeah.
like a mechanical, I could have seen it coming. It was making that weird noise. This, that, whatever. There's always something to take away. I went off track in the wet. Yeah, I broke on the dry line that time, and the other times I was braking on the not the
Right.
dry
Yep.
line. So then I had more momentum when I came into the corner. Okay, yep. All right, I'm gonna have to take that one away and just be like, all right, it's really important that I don't muscle memory into the dry line when I'm driving in the wet, right? And
Yeah.
over time, that takes up less mental bandwidth of like the concentration required to drive in the wet. So then you have more bandwidth for other things. And I don't know how would you work up to a bunch of unknowns on a wet racetrack, Tom?
I'm sure. Yeah. The main thing I think I have a hard time removing what I already know, but I guess it's fair. Let me just restart. Okay, so I think when I'm on a new track and it's wet, the things that I know are there's more likely to be more grip on the outside than the inside. There's more likely to be more grip off the normal driving line than there is on the normal driving line.
Yep.
I know that the braking zones are likely to be the most slippery initially, and then obviously some of the corners. I know that puddles will make the car float. I know that standing water, I know what that feels like from hydroplaning on the highway. I know what the sound of it hitting the fender wells sounds like.
Yep. Yep. Good. Good.
So these are all knowns that are like I can know that going in, and then I try to like apply those knowns to whatever the scenario is at this racetrack. So say it's a brand new track and I can see the puddle. Obviously, you don't just hit the puddle. I default to maybe starting with braking in the middle of the racetrack. Honestly, I kind of default to that pretty quickly, and if I see someone else getting away with something else, then I pivot back.
Yeah.
But I don't test the waters on the braking zones very much because you can fade back across the braking zone and hit the normal turn-in point. But I really don't want to find out that I'm going to hit the brakes at the 4 at 120 and not get brakes.
Yes. Yep.
Um, I default to running outside and I move in a car width every single time. I mean, we've talked in depth about what you can expect for raid driving in that rain episode. So I think like go educate yourself on that and then apply what you know to the unknown.
Yeah. I do
I think
think
to me that's a more tangible
I do think the
process.
our episode of I forget what episode number it is if somebody in the chat wants to help, but it's the title of it is the actual art of driving in the rain. And I do know that the feedback on that one was really positive because it gave people that understanding of what they should be looking for, what they should be experimenting with, what they should be doing when it's wet.
Yeah.
And that understanding got rid of a lot of fear. So we've talked about all this rational, like getting rid of rational fear, right? What if it
Mhm.
stays irrational?
Yeah, that one's hard.
Yeah, I haven't figured that one out. Like, how do you convince somebody that they're like we know the car can brake at the whatever. Why are we still breaking 2 markers before that or a marker before that or whatever? I know that they have the skill to blend the
Yeah,
brakes toward the apex, so it's not like they're on the brakes and then they pop off and get on throttle, and that's why they feel like they have to brake earlier is because they're not managing the weight of the vehicle correctly.
yeah.
What do you
When I'm on
do?
this
Go ahead.
when I'm in this position, I've had very few people that I can't think of anybody who never got there, but I can think of people who were in this process somewhere.
Yeah,
And it mostly boiled down to either getting to a deep enough breaking point to make a new gain, or to go flat out through a sequence of corners, most like usually to get a gain, or to stay flat in a key corner that gets a gain. Um, I try to give them the most simple task and then tell them that nothing else matters. For example, I'm scared of breaking at the 2, I'm breaking at the 3 or 2.5 all the time, and I'm too scared to go to the 2. I tell them unequivocally, "Your only job is to go break at the 2.
yeah.
I don't care. I
The
literally
rest of the
don't
lap
care
does
if
not
you
matter.
stay on the brakes all the way to the s to you till you come to a stop. But before you can just go break at the 2, we will not see a gain."
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah,
Like, I
yeah. That
try
makes
to it's
sense.
like the and
Like,
that tells them I don't have to do anything. I don't have to make the corner. I don't have to do a new lap time. I don't have to do better. Like, I have to just go break that fear.
I have to get over this.
Yes.
Yeah,
And similar with the breaking point's usually pretty easy. That's a very, very, like, new driver thing. The staying flat through a key corner, like, I'm thinking Summit Point through the whole S's in a lower powered car, through the uphill S's at VIR in a mid-powered car, stuff that's like, my instincts are to get halfway through it and then just kinda roll out of the throttle and stay comfortable.
yeah,
It's a very similar thing, but I try to give them way more information about what they could where their outs are, basically.
yeah.
Because I
I
can say, go hit the 2 and come to a stop."
corners are a little
Okay,
bit
now we've
trickier.
broken through that, but corners are harder.
Corners are a bit trickier because you have just more variables in what could happen. Like the turn in point, is the car like at the limit? Were we lazy on our turn in? All these things that can add like some rationality to the fear, right?
Yeah. But I try not to even give them any words like that. Like, don't be thinking about whether you turned in too late. Don't be thinking like, I don't wanna put that thought into their brain because I want them thinking, "I need to go through here flat." And then like, the best case scenario is that I've given them the information of what they feel, and they either know that it's okay or they're willing to risk feeling that feeling, right? Like, if you get to that point in the corner and the car starts to rotate, it's going to feel like it's gonna rotate underneath you for a split second, but then it's gonna come back and you're fine. So just have soft hands, and no matter what, if you get to that point where it rotated and then it doesn't come back, both feet in and stop, right? Like, let
Yeah.
the car flat, like,
Have
you're
the
gonna go
out.
this direction, kinda like you can spitball that because I think that's all fair to talk about, like, the outs, but I never say to somebody, as long as make sure you're not turning in too late, and then you'll go flat.
Well,
Because then I think all they're gonna be thinking about is like, "Well, I
yeah,
just
yeah,
can't
yeah.
turn too."
Well, okay, so I think like turn one mid Ohio in a Honda Fit is a pretty good example of like just go do it flat because by the time they like you can turn in, you have a huge window of like input to where you end up and you're still like on the surface and like everything's fine, right?
Right, so in that example, I would say on the left side curb, if you're past the left side curb and you're still flat, but now you're still scared, now you're allowed to just, like, straighten the wheel up and slow the car down gently. Don't do any sudden moves, but at least get past the inside curb, and that's 2/3 of the way through the corner, and they're gonna get to the end of it and be like, "Oh, yeah, that's fine."
Oh,
Like, I
yeah.
kinda know that, but I still give them that little bit of, like, if you get past that, because then they're maybe thinking about, "I just have to stay flat all the way to the end of the curb." And then that's 2/3 of the job, but it's not, "Don't turn in too late, don't turn in too late, don't turn in too late." Is that, you see what my the
Yeah,
framing
yeah, yeah,
difference?
yeah. So you're
Yeah.
it's basically like, hey, Tom, don't think of pink elephants. And now like you just thought of a
Mm.
pink elephant, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's instead of like don't do this, don't do that. But okay, what if you substitute that with a, like we're turning in at this point, we need this angle at apex. If we don't have that, then we have to bail.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, hmm. Yeah, it's tricky. I'm curious the listeners, if they've came across uh like a similar situation. Like where's a situation where you realize some fear that you had in terms of driving was irrational, and how did you get over that? Or is realizing that it's irrational like the thing that you need?
Yeah, they're talking a bunch, so I'm trying to find there was some people sharing examples of this. Was I just talking away from the mic for a while?
No, you're good.
Sorry if I was. Okay. Phil said the CMP kink is the first one that comes to mind. Devin said the last corner at AMP onto the front straight, deception at NCM. Those are good examples. Um, I guess no one was really saying this is what I did to to help myself.
Yeah, people are just like, these are scary corners.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I will say,
Lime Rock, the downhill. Yep.
one for me is the first two corners of the upper S's at VIR in like an actual fast car. I don't feel like my first initial turn of the wheel to the left to get my angle on that first curb, and then the flick to the right to like fly over like that crest that you first go over. In a fast car, I find it tough to have the car like floating on in and then get like a twist for the when I turn right to like have the car like like in a slalom the car's like float 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 float, right? It should in theory be the same thing in these upper S's. But that first left right on the upper S's is tough because, and I think part of why like I leave margin there is I don't trust my accuracy.
Sure.
I don't.
Never lived that one in real life yet. I've never
Oh,
driven
in a
something fast enough
fast
there.
enough car, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I just in iRacing, it's like it's kind of easy, but all those cars are basically just flat up the S's. It's never like in these really fast street cars. It's not just flat up the S's. There's like a very narrow window between the first left, which is like you make just after you drive under the bridge that comes into the
Yeah.
racetrack, and then the right. And if you don't get the cadence of that correctly, you just go off the track to the left.
Correct.
And
Yeah, that one's tough.
there's like a
I
ditch
think there's
there.
actually a point for okay, so maybe this is an interesting like end thought. When something stays a bit scary, but it's no longer a place for gains. For example,
Yes.
I was coaching a driver who was terrified of the entry at turn 1 of Heartland Park, RIP. You would come over this blind crest, bending to the left, and then you would bend right at the top of the crest, but continue to bend right into the braking zone, or maybe the braking zone started right before the crest. And he was like, I'm just terrified of this corner. And I was looking at data, I compared it to someone else's data, and he had zero opportunity for gains there. And all I was like, you can go faster in turn 6 and turn 10, but turn 1's not an opportunity. So if it's scary, you're doing it fine. Just keep doing that the way it is,
Yeah,
right?
you'll
You don't
get
have
used
to
to it
keep pushing it.
eventually, I guess.
I kind of think that's what the reality of that fast car into the lower S's is, or upper S's is, right? You turn
Yeah.
2 at Mosport was that for me. Like it stayed scary, but I hit this point because we're basically not lifting into it, right? In that car, the first time I learned it,
I just know
I
I know
didn't
I know
have any
with
more opportunity there.
my understanding of driving, if I had the car more at the limit from the first twist of the left on the wheel and then like transferred it being at the limit now to the left side tires when I'm turning right, it would be a couple tenths at least. It's just hard to bring myself to do that because I don't know, maybe I would need more examples of how I am actually that accurate with the car going 140, 150 or whatever. Uh, and I don't have enough. I've asked that question, I've gotten the answer in spots where the the there is no bail, right? Because we've talked about having like an out, and in that section there is no out, right? So like asking the question there, And even like the baby steps, I never really get that many laps in when I do drive fast cars at VIR to like get the reps to do those small baby steps where like not having a bail is is fine because I've asked enough small questions to get enough small answers to understand the input output there. So I just bring that up as an example of somewhere where I know, and maybe it is rational, or maybe it's irrational. I think I'm at the point in that like journey with that one section on this one racetrack where I don't know. I don't know if it's rational or irrational, and I bet a lot of people are dealing with that.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting topic. Jackie said, in I use data as references in relating to something like staying flat, for example, and in real time, if the car doesn't get to the exit curb on its own, I know I can go faster. You use that analogy a lot. Like the
Yep,
car should take itself there.
it should. Yeah, and if you have to
Yep.
lift to stay on the racetrack, then we need to change our angle at apex.
Yep.
However you need to make that happen. You would do a later apex, but however you need to get to the later apex. I realize that like people are like, wait, I need to change the angle, and they might like they might not put together exactly where my brain just connected and then moved on. So
Yeah. Ito said his personal method is to basically use brute force logic to overcome an emotional fear. For example, if I know it can hit a certain mark, I force myself to do it. Reasonable.
yeah, I feel like I kind of do the same actually.
I think I sort of do as well, but I don't love that verbalization. Also, because you've been too off quite a bit trying to do those things, you know. But I think that's more the car has been such a pile for a little while.
Yeah,
No
yeah, yeah.
offense, sorry, bud. Yeah, I blame the car too.
Literally says I blame the car.
He knows, he knows, he knows. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um. So yeah, I mean that we didn't even go into the mechanical side. Anthony said, by the way, the like mechanical fear, something something mechanical is making me afraid to, and like that's just like short little stints with reps to go check nuts and bolts,
Yeah,
and I don't
maybe
like that's a different window than you and I even tend to end up in, right?
maybe once, like someday, something will fail on the car that gave me zero warning, and I had no inkling that it was a possibility.
Yeah.
And then I'll have just this like baseline mechanical fear, like living in the background because I know it's
Yeah.
possible. But anytime something has mechanically failed in the car, there was warning signs. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
weird, and then it breaks. Like there's or like hopefully that holds together, and then it breaks. Like it's never been like a oh my god, what happened?
Yep.
Yeah.
I always liked this line when I was working the Dodge Ride and Drive events. We were doing this SRT track experience, and one of the guys, John Hammer, I don't know if Hammer would listen to this, but what?
I think Ito sums up why we're not scared of that, and I think it's really healthy. Ito says, "I don't worry about mechanical failures because it's not something I can control."
Yeah, I'm,
Yeah, that works for me.
to an extent.
Okay. Anyways, you were talking about
Anyway, so he would do the drivers' meetings for the drivers before they would go out on the track. And one of his lines was something about people are concerned when they get on a racetrack or when they go too fast that all of a sudden the car is just gonna flip. No one has ever crashed a car and said, "Oh man, the car just flipped." That was just one of his bits. I
yeah,
like that bit.
yeah, yeah.
Um, any closing thoughts on irrational versus rational fear? Good topic.
Yeah, I what I really want is I want people to send in questions or stories into the podcast because I this is just me and Tom having this discussion. I want to see what this discussion looks like for other people because I personally I want ideas on how this can be conquered or identified or something, right? Like I want to understand how other people experience this part of motorsports that not a lot of people talk about, but everyone
Yeah,
experiences.
agreed. Did you win that race in the background yet?
Hold on. Almost.
DJ has his in car of the Lizard Brains podcast 2 hour Clubman Cup running in the background.
Just
What are
doing
you doing this
laps.
weekend?
This
Oh,
go ahead.
tell us about what you're doing this weekend.
Tomorrow I'm getting on a plane to Las Vegas and I'm doing the Las Vegas Pro Solo. So
Awesome. In a
it'll be
second
fun.
gen twin?
Yep, I'm driving with Uh, Reunion.
Similar car to Peter's, identical,
It's
different?
it should be like pretty close to the same. It's got the Lugard shocks on it. It has a diff, it has all the power stuff. I know nothing about the car. If it's tough to drive, the owner said that I'll have full reign to adjust it as you know as we can. But if if it has quality parts on it, it's I think they're single adjustable shocks, so it's not like they can be like that incorrectly set. Uh, it's probably fine. So it has the car has all the stuff. The biggest thing that's going to be the issue, Tom, is I'm short. The owner is tall, which is not normally an issue because I drive with Peter Schnorr most of the time, and he's very tall. Actually, when I go to look for Peter, when I get to an event, I just scan the course because I know he's out there walking. I just look for the tallest person. That's Peter. So,
Okay.
yep.
And this guy's taller.
No, this guy is probably just as tall, but it's a fixed seat, and I think it's like mounted to the floor.
Oh,
So I have to. Part of the reason why I have to check a bag is to bring a bunch of pads and stuff. So hopefully I fit in the car. But sometimes, and I've had this happen, especially like when I drive Erica Teal's car, I have to put so many things in the car so I can fit into it that I no longer have bolstering because I'm outside of
yeah.
the seat basically to drive the stupid car. So hopefully that doesn't happen because that always makes it a little tricky to try to drive the car when you're flopping all over the place.
Yeah, it's also tough when all the padding you have is pretty soft
Yes.
and you end up, like, rolling and mushing around under the
Yep.
belts in the seat,
Yeah.
and not ideal.
If I have to, I'll go to like Home Depot and like I don't know, put wood on the bottom of the seat or something. Like I'll figure something out. So
Yeah.
hopefully I can get fitted into the car on Friday, and then that way, if I have to make any adjustments, I'll take some measurements and like go to Home Depot and have them cut me some wood or like plywood or something, and like wrap it
You
in
have Home
foam or
Depot
something.
shop make you your own race seat
I get fitted for the seat.
to
Yeah,
fit in someone else's race
yeah.
seat. I like that idea.
Racing Depot, isn't that what people call it?
Yeah. Home Depot speed shop.
Yeah, so that's what I'm doing, and then I'll spend the whole week in Vegas, and me and Tom have to figure out how we're going to record an episode next week. We'll figure that out when we end the episode.
Yep.
And yeah, what are you doing, Tom?
Cool. Good luck. This is my last weekend of no motorsports travel because I finally get to travel next week for a commentary gig. I'm going to Sonoma with SRO. So I don't know what races I'm commentating yet, but I've been trying to start studying. I'm gonna guess I'm ending up on probably TC America and probably GR Cup and maybe the McLaren Trophy,
Are you
but I doubt they're gonna put me on the GT3 or GT4 races
are
just
you going to
based on
be
hierarchy.
are you going to be commentating Matan?
I bet so. I think so.
Okay. Do you know if Matan's going to be
That'd
at
be
this
cool.
race? I don't know what Matan's schedule looks like.
As far as I know, I think Matan's doing a whole season in
Okay.
a Hyundai
That would be
TC car.
cool. That would be kind of neat.
Yeah. Yeah. And if I get on GT4, I know Kenton is in the race and Alan Patton's in the race. There's a bunch of people I know it. I'm probably going to be like, I don't remember how many people I know at that event,
Yeah.
but we'll find out.
All right,
Anyway,
cool.
so I've been starting to study that a little bit this weekend. I got nothing going on. Yeah,
Want to come out to Vegas?
pretty good. No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
All right. Fine.
I don't know how I mean, I don't think I can make that happen in a day and a half.
No, probably not. Airplane tickets apparently are way more expensive than when I booked this. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I had to book my own flights for Sonoma and I was like, God, this is so crazy. What are we
Well,
doing?
I'm assuming they're reimbursing you, right?
They are, but I hadn't shopped for a flight in
Yeah,
6
yeah,
months,
yeah.
8 months.
You got to open up that flight credit card or whatever, get all those points.
Yeah, for sure.
So, okay. That will be the show. I'm coaching in 1 minute. So, Tom, if you want to take it away.
Guys, I need to end on this thought. I recently found out that Danica Patrick believes in lizard people in the Galactic Federation, and I don't think we're talking about that enough, but I love your hair and I hope you win.